All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So this is going to be a somewhat special video. I'm going to do a dedicated video to the single stock. We're going to talk about high tide only. Look, if you've watched my videos before, I always wait for the day to end. We are in live hours, all right? So the candle might move, the percentage might move. Normally, I don't do it because I really focus on the short term, daily and weekly. That's my thing, right? But I'm gonna take a much further outlook. We're gonna look at monthly, yearly, quarterly, right? So that's what's gonna make this one special. But look, listen, I'm for sure gonna talk about the immediate. All right, this day right here. What was this? This was 8/14, right? On 8/14, Raj put a very interesting comment, and we'll talk about this. There was an acquisition. I commented on it. I said I loved it actually, right? And I'll go over my reasons. And then obviously the rest is just the rest, right? So right here in the 1 minute moment, I'm gonna bookmark my video here. Look, I'm never here to say go watch my other videos, right? I don't want to pip my other videos. Your time is valuable, but I made a long-term high tide video at the beginning of the year, and we're gonna go back and talk about some of that, in a little bit later on this. But if you want to see what my thoughts were before, feel free to refresh it. But I thought high tide was setting up for a really strong year. All right. Clearly, more than half of it has gone through, and it's been a very tough year, right? So it's one reason I always say I'm way better at short term than long term. I mean, a lot happens in a year, right? Let alone in just a week. But things are starting to shift a bit. And again, I'll give you more details shortly, but we went from almost losing the entire candle. You can see how low the wick got, right? To we're right now actually sitting above last year's candle. And that is a real big thing to do. And I mean, there's just still months left, right? And so far, a lot of decent good things happening here. So again, we'll do short term, we'll do long term. Hey, fun fact, I am actually trying to connect with Raj to maybe do an interview here. So if you use Twitter, if you use X, maybe comment on this thing and say, hey, Raj, do an interview with the dude, because I would love to do that. I'll get questions from everyone and stuff like that. So, um, all that said, before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly for short term thoughts. What will be different is I'm going to take a look at the monthly, quarterly, and yearly for some longer term thoughts. Again, my bread and butter is short term, but hey, it's all the same technicals, right? It's just more time frame and a lot more patience, right? So, we're going to have our manually drawn horizontal support and resistance lines. And then we also have 5 moving averages. I forgot to say that, but we have our 5 moving averages, the horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's start with the short term. Again, this really is more my bread and butter. This is what I'm more comfortable with. And then again, I will give you my longer term thoughts, and I'll probably chapter that elsewhere, right? But oh man, it is all about this single doji right here. All right. So before I talk about this, let's take a zoom back real quick. Zoom back, zoom back, zoom back. Okay. I'll actually even keep going back. Let's because again, we're gonna do some long term stuff. We've been talking about this $2.54 line since 2024. I remember these hits like they were yesterday. I remember the first break like it was yesterday. Obviously, we all remember this, and we're trying to put that behind us. And knock on wood, we're there, right? But once again, it's this has been such a critical line. And if you watch my other videos, normally my golden line is at the top. It's when you break all time highs and you're just ready for the love that is all time highs. All right, this has been such a critical line because can we see it on the weekly easier? No, you know what? It is fine on the daily. So we basically come down from the IPO, right? I can't see further out, but you can see it on the weekly. We basically come to it at some point in the 2019s, right? And that's where this is right here. We've now come to it. We fail, we fail, we fail, we fail, we test and we go. So just even in the beginning, this was an important line. Then there's a whole year and a half of nothing there. We lose it, and then we just talked about it from 2022 roughly until this one right here. I mean, not even roughly, literally. From 2022 until the end of 2024, this was an absolute impossibility of a line, right? So from the IPO moment it got down here, all the way through essentially the 14th of this month in 2025, that's been the pesky line, all right? And I'm a line dude, right? We have moving average lines, we have support lines, resistance lines. Even these things down here are basically lines, right? The one thing that I take from the people that use candles alone to trade is the importance of the doji. All right. The doji, you got to remember, this is a 7 hour trading day. All right. In 7 hours on the 14th, we open at 255 and we close at 255, right? You can see it in the box over there, the first two numbers, right? Literally nothing happens. And it's not like we had small volume that day. We had 1.2 million shares. Look, when you're over a million shares, you're at least going to get my attention, right? So that's a real volume number and a real 7 hour day. There is no holiday on the 14th of August, right? And you couldn't move a single penny from the close to the open. That's uncertainty right there. All right. Now, when that doji is on an important line. And look, I'm not even here to brag about how good my drawn line is, right? Look in the box. We're literally 1 penny over the purple line at the bottom right there. Average 200 was at 254. We were sitting at 255, right? So even if I wasn't a good, drawer and I didn't know how to draw that line, the moving average, which is computer generated, let me know this doji was at an important place, right? Now, what I really like, and if you watch my videos, I'm never here saying technicals are better than fundamentals and this and that, right? But when there's news and technicals blended together, good things will happen, all right? And there was real news. There was an actual acquisition as well as an entry into Germany. All right. Now, look, again, you know me. I don't know the details well. I don't know if High Tide was already in Germany. I don't know if they had some distribution arms. You can see I'm actually trying to get a hold of Raj right there. Um, it's to me two real nice headings right there. It's acquisition and brand new market in Germany, right? Boom, boom. That's huge. All right. My comments, which I'm basically going to say now and I'm going to show it, are two things, right? On the day itself, we gapped up, right? On Wednesday, we closed down here at $2.46. All of a sudden, we gapped up. I know it's not a big gap up, it's a 3% something, right? But that's a gap up nonetheless, right? That alone, I know it's only a penny, but we just said it. That news was enough to get us 1 penny over the 200 moving average, as well as my little golden line that we've been talking about, right? So the news did some stuff. And let's just look at the rest of the sector. When you look at Tilray on the 14th, it didn't have a great day, right? We just came off the legalization rumor. We just started to try to take over the 200 moving average. The actual 14th wasn't a good day. It was actually a red day, right? When you look at CGC, the actual 14th, again, another red day. This one was actually almost a 10% loss right here, right? I can go through the rest of them. MSOS, right? This one's the 14th. This one's the 14th. 5% red loss, right? Like I'm literally all the tickers that we normally go through were red, except for High Tide. High Tide gaps up and actually gets over the last moving average, right? I'm a firm believer in sector strength. When they all go down, they should all go down. When they all go up, they all should go up. When there's an outlier, it's either just an outlier for no reason at all, and hey, the technicals will figure it out and put it back in place with the others, or there's something else. All right. So I really like that, and that's essentially what this comment was. I don't know how many people saw it or not, right? But I liked it. I know it's only a doji, but the gap up over the last moving average and the golden line, and then I would have assumed I would have said it. But yeah, really, it was also the fact that the rest of the market wasn't great on this day. All right. From there, the rest was the rest, right? We start to come down here to the RSI. Our RSI was only a 65 on this day, right? There was plenty of room for it to go to the 80s. It then decided to go to 89. It then decided to go to 92. It then decided to live at 92. It then decided to go up to 95, right? Like, I don't know if you're seeing the box over there, but like all these RSI, it goes to 95 RSI. 95.97, almost a 96 RSI. Yo, there are blue chip stocks that can never do that. You know what I mean? So the fact that it lived horizontally in the 90s for 4 trading days, right? Starting at this one at 92, all the way to this one at 95. Actually, this one too is 91, right? So 6 trading days in the 90s. Yo, that's huge. And I'm looking at it right now. The day's not done yet, but we're still actually in the RSI of 90s, right? So there are things happening. And really, there's still sector love happening, right? Tilray's taking off, kiss the death line that we were expecting it to, right? CGC, not as great. It hasn't really taken off yet, but I mean, this thing has gone up, right? MSOS is another one. This thing was all the way down here. This one's over the golden line, right? Like SNDL, like there are still sector strength and there is still sector love and there's news here, right? So to me, all this really, really is making a lot of sense to me. And hey, what I actually like about all this entire climb, we haven't even touched the 8 moving average. We broke, you hear me say it all the time, you break all 5 and you fly, you lose all 5 and you die, right? We have broken all 5 and we have flown. We haven't even needed to use the 8 to bounce on up, right? So do I have my next line up? Yeah, we have our next line up, right? It seems like we're going to be, oh, I can't zoom in now. It seems like we're going to be coming to 4. That is really what I expect. Look, this is a crazy high RSI. So it would make sense to me that it's going to come down, and it has been coming down. Look, as long as we're over 325, this thing is crazy bullish. Truth be told, you can probably say 307 is still crazy bullish, but bare minimum, don't lose the 8 moving average, right? If I had to guess, this is probably going to come around 330 tomorrow, right? Let's just say let's not lose anything between 330 and 320. As long as you're over that, my expectation really is this is going to bounce on the 8 and go. And hey, look, worst case, if you lose the 8, the 20 is making its way on up, right? And we've seen it before. The 8 and the 20 are your worst enemies when they're your worst enemies, or they start to become a best friend because when you lose it, it'll bounce up and go, right? So we're really liking the news. We're really liking the technical move, and we're really liking the sector. That's a lot of amazing in one, right? I think someone said there was a guidance update. I don't know if that's true or not, but please let me know. I don't know if it happened on this candle. I don't know if it happened on this candle or both of them were just some technical moves after you break a resistance and after you confirm, right? But I think it was in the Discord room. Someone had said that they made some guidance updates, and obviously they were good guidance updates, right? I don't know if they increased revenue. I don't know what it was. I don't know if this Germany thing made them do it, right? But um, let me know in the comments if that's a thing. But yeah, right now I'm expecting this thing to go to 4. All right. I don't mind it coming down, like I'm saying, as low as 320. Because yo, you can't. This RSI has got to cool down, right? Like it is what it is, and hopefully it's going to be significantly held. Oh no, look at this. Last time we were at an RSI of a 90 something, we actually, you can say it came down a bit, but that's not that bad to go from an RSI of like 90 all the way down to an RSI of 21 and not even drop that crazy, crazy. A lot of lines right there. I'm thinking of too many things. Let's ignore that because that's a little too far in the past. But yeah, one more time. That. Let's look at the weekly really quickly. Yeah, I like the weekly a lot. Where's this 307 line? Can we raise the 307 line? Let me see. Let me see. What's going on over here? I think I can. Because I think, not really. It's this one, right? Not really. Um, Give me a second. No, I really can't. We'll leave everything as is. We'll leave everything as is. We'll leave everything as is. But again, don't lose 330, 320. We're all good. Don't lose the 8 moving average. And again, even if you do, like I said, I think that the 20 is going to be your friend. Not much I'm going to say on the weekly. The one thing I really do like is, hey, that's this is normally a candle. I'll say, look, I need some monster confirmation, right? We went above 4 moving averages, actually all 5, because we were down here last week. That's how you monster confirm the break of all those moving averages, right? So I am still really liking this weekly a lot. Look, I know 74 is relatively high. There isn't too much higher on the weekly on that RSI level either. Yeah, right. Look at that thing. It's only been a couple week moment that we've actually hit the 80s, right? So kind of keep that in mind. But what I do think in the back of my head is if this thing can live in the 90s RSIs on the daily, it's probably ready to at least break into the 80s RSI on the weekly one more time. All right. So this isn't a bad candle at all, right? Like 50% candle is all the way down here around 320, which is basically what we just talked about on the daily, right? So cool. I like that. I think those are cool short term thoughts. I'm going to chapter it right here. And now we're going to go into long term thoughts. All right. So let's come to the yearly. Okay. I'm going to zoom in. So very quickly, please. Hey, at the 1 minute mark, I put a video of my long-term thoughts from the beginning of the year. If you've got time, check it out just to refresh what I'm about to say. But I think I'll do a pretty good job of saying it. You gotta ignore these lines, right? Like all of these are based on short-term dailies. There's not even that many lines I can candles I can draw lines on, right? So I do apologize for that. It's just kind of a system limitation right there. All right. But on my January, maybe I made it in December, maybe I made it in January. I don't really remember. Right. But at the end of last year, this was our candle right here, right? You can see this thing ended on December 31st, 2024. I'm looking at the yearly chart. Each of these represents a full year. Okay. What the one line to look at, and yo, I'm so glad I didn't move the line. This 307 is actually a crazy important line. When we click on this one right here, this candle opens at $3, right? You can see the line is just a little bit higher than that. This candle right here actually opens at $3 as well. So maybe it is, this one's 309. All right, whatever. Well, maybe 305 is the line, right? But we have that 3 and 3 point right there, and basically another 3 point right here. This is probably the only real line that I would have drawn on this yearly, right? You got top, bottom, top, okay? The fact that we're already over it is crazy huge, all right? And really, when I looked at this candle, I expected some good things to happen, like I said, this year, right? You're over this already. We just said that this was at 3 and this was at 3. We actually physically closed at 309, right? I know it's only a couple pennies, but hey, I get excited about a couple pennies and I just want to be over something, right? You're either over on it or under, right? So we were happy with this. We also really liked this candle coming off of this doji, right? Again, I started the video talking about that doji on the 14th, how in a 7-hour day it barely did anything. Yo, this is a 1 year candle in the entirety of 2023. This stock moved 10 cents. Talk about uncertainty, right? Like that a doji is important. And generally speaking, the candle after it tells you the decision, tells you the way that that uncertainty is starting to sway. That was a real good candle after this thing. This is actually the best green candle that we've seen, right? That's a small one, that's a small one, that's a better one. Crazy wick, barely any wicks, right? So this was a real good candle. It's crazy to me that we lost more than 50%. It's crazy to me that we almost came to the bottom. The one technical thing I'll say is we never lost the candle, right? This candle opens at $1.63. That's that line right there. What was your lowest point of the wick? 164 by a penny. This doesn't lose the entirety of the candle, right? You hear me talk about two things. Don't lose 50% of the candle. Don't lose the entire candle, right? So there was actually a technical balance and support right there, even if you're only using this yearly chart and this minimal information right there, right? So gotta love this stuff. I'm saying this all with a smile because I do love this stuff, right? So yeah, I will easily say two things about this. Number one, yo, this wick down, and I mean knowing the answer, right? Knowing that from January basically all the way till April, and realistically January all the way till basically August, this thing was in a crazy downtrend, right? And more than the year is gone, most of the candle is gone. But hey, you gotta know that, like, if you're long term, don't look at the short term noise, right? So someone like me, I'm telling you, I could never trade like this. I'd go crazy, right? But so far so good. What's the next thing we're looking for? It's actually roughly where we're at right now, right? I would roughly say that $3.60 is 50% of this candle right here. All right. I think if you break 360, that could be a crazy point right there. I'm none of this is scripted, I promise you. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna zoom out and see if we can find that 360 anywhere else. There is no 50 moving average here, so this stock has not been alive for 50 quarters. All right, you need 50 candles till you can get the 50 moving average. This candle represents every 3 months, right? You count all these, it's not 50, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gives you the 8 moving average point as well, because now you have some math to do, right? So not alive for 50 just yet. Where was that 350 point? Yeah, nowhere too special here. Do we have a 350 point? No, nowhere too special here. Okay, no, nothing. But again, on the yearly, to me, this 350 point is pretty important. Maybe we'll call it 360, 370. I don't know. I think between that 350 and between 350 and 370 looks like roughly 50% of that candle. If you get over that, there's not a lot of resistance left, and that's why that matters a lot to me, right? So keep that number in your back pocket. I think what I want to do is just, yeah, I did see it. Look, we're actually over all the moving averages on the monthly. We're actually, oh, okay. Let me rephrase the words. This is the first monthly candle over all the moving averages. This is the first quarterly candle over all the moving averages. Next month is going to matter a lot here. January, February, March, April, May, June, okay? July, August, September. So next month's candle hopefully confirms this. And let's go back real quick. We talked about the weekly breaking 4 moving averages and monster confirming. What are we looking at? We're looking at the monthly breaking 3 moving averages, and really the only 3. There is no 4th moving average if you look in the box over there, right? This thing has not been alive for 100 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th month. We get the 8th line. All of a sudden, this is the 50th one right here. There is no 100 yet. So we've smashed all of them. This is either, like this one, gonna confirm really silly, or maybe it's going to come back to 280. Because look, I know there's a lot of lines, right? But I'm clicking right here. That's roughly 50% of this thing. It also ended up being almost exactly the top of that right there, right? So I would use 280 as my short side for July. But yo, for real, this might kiss 488 in July. I really like that 61 RSI. I really like this MACD peaking right there. Green over red is just starting, and yo, look at that volume. What was a year of declining volume, and it's what we just said, right? From January basically till this month, it's been bad. This is a good month right here. And we actually still have a couple more days to get a couple bits more volume, right? So I'm really liking July. Again, the quarterly because right we're in this quarter right here, and I was doing the math in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. Okay, so we need this to continue. Did I say July was gonna hit 488? Yo, that was real dumb. September might hit 488. September low is 280. Yo, that was real dumb. And next month will end this quarterly, right? And then that last quarter will be pretty important. And oh man, a lot can go from there, right? So for now, I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm getting my dates correct, and I apologize. I think next month there's a real shot at us. I'll say this. I think 427 end of September is realistic. And then hopefully we start to go after this 488 in that next quarterly candle. And really, that next line based on this is actually right here at 572. I'll draw you. Actually, I'm even going to do it from this because it's basically the IPO line and almost a perfect 50% right there. Cool. I'll take it. So, one quick recap. I like this video. Hopefully, you guys like this video. Let me know. I don't do this a lot. I don't know if you could tell I'm a little uncomfortable in the long term or not. I think it was all right, though. But short term, all right, I think it's going to be okay if we come down to 320, 330. I can see it going after that $4, though. That's basically what I'm expecting. Again, crazy high RSI. We've now finally dropped into the 89 realm instead of the 90s on the daily. So it was only 5 days, not 6 days, all right? Weekly is still looking good. Weekly is still under 80. We have not been over 80 RSI much on the weekly. However, living at a 90 RSI definitely is very, very difficult on the daily and probably warrants you having a pretty decent one on the weekly. All right. So I am guessing we're gonna crack this line. From there, yo, the yearly is finally doing the job. If you can break 360, 370, 350, something in that range, the yearly will be really happy. More than anything, man, watch the next month. All right. Watch the next month. And obviously, the last quarter is going to be the end of the year one, too, right? But oh man, it kind of makes me think in a lot of ways, too, just kind of ending the long term on the yearly. We actually might get a decent candle after this, right? If this body can kind of go up a little bit more and maybe finish around, yo, if we can actually get over 425 by the end of the year, if we can close the year over the only other candle that's green right here, oh man, that could actually be some pretty crazy things right there. All right. So, look, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you have any other news or technicals or fundamentals or anything. Oh, I appreciate you all so, so much.